tell people, like how you got to jam with all these no-code tools before this wave, and how it's changing now.
I think you and me are very similar in the sense that we want to just make stuff and we don't want to actually delve into like technical details or how to implement this, or like to be 6 months just learning how to code, to do like very basic stuff. So we always try like alternatives, like tools that help us to actually make or ideas or things possible. In your case was with revenue square and all the education software that you had. In my case was basically the same.
99% of the time you're ahead of me, and then sometimes I'm like, hey Alex, check this out. Welcome Alex to the pod. How's it going, man?
Thank you. Really great start of the week. How about you?
Same. Lots of events, lots of things going on, lots of products to ship. And I'm stoked to have you on because you're one of the guys that you're one of my references of people who are actually out there building, testing all these pretty awesome tools, NHN, Lovable, Bolt, all of them almost before they were as big as they were. And I think this comes because you've been working on no-code hackers for a while, which I love as a concept because in my mind, you're someone who chases leverage, right? So in many different ways. So I'm stoked to have you on the pod. And this is just a conversation about what are the interesting things, tools, trends around no-code or low-code that could be useful for founders and just people in startups in general today. And then 2, maybe we do a little live vibe no coding session or whatever you want, with a cool little use case, because you and I are always playing with this stuff, and you've been amazing to work with for one of my companies. You've built an LMS for me, you've built a CMS, you've built workflows, you've built a bunch of stuff, and I'm always in awe on how fast you're able to ship. So yeah, man, like just let's just riff off of that, and just to kick things off a little bit, to tell people, like how you got to jam with all these no-code tools before this wave, and how it's changing now.
Yeah, basically, I think you and me are very similar in the sense that we want to just make stuff and we don't want to actually delve into like technical details or how to implement this, or like to be 6 months just learning how to code, to do like very basic stuff. So we always try like alternatives, like tools that help us to actually make or ideas or things possible. In your case was with revenue square and all the education software that you had. In my case was basically the same. I launched like a small side project with Thinkific and Webflow back in 2020 because I had like too much free time. And basically that project started like taking off. Like little by little, suddenly I had a position where I can actually decide where to go. And I entered Minimum Run, which is a no-code agency at the time, now a marketing agency, which now we are part of Modular Studios, which is a holding with 4 boutiques developing code. And No Code Hackers is an 8-person company, which is crazy if you think about that like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I remember I met you, funnily enough, through Twitter. Again, before this wave, when I was trying to build like a database with Glide for business angels and accelerators and so on. I ended up starting with Excel and then used it for some stuff. And I gravitated towards your content because I don't know if you were publishing YouTube videos like now, but like if you know Spanish, you should check out Alex's YouTube channel, by the way, because his tutorials are really awesome. But he's a great follow on Twitter as well. We met through there, and since then I've been just following, the tools that you test, and some 99% of the time you're ahead of me, and then sometimes I'm like, hey Alex, check this out. Remember when Bolt came out? Tell us a little bit your experience with like before this, let's call it next level wave of automation. How did you find these tools, no?
Yeah, basically Twitter. As you say, Twitter is like one of my hidden tricks of no-code hackers because I was following like the right people. Basically anyone that actually shipped something with no code, without writing code, because as always with a new wave in 2020 was no code. There were people that were talking and people were building. I tried to follow the people that were building and actually try myself to build stuff first and then teach other people the things that I actually was building. In my life, I always try new tools. That I'm an early adopter. I can't help it. I have the crazy thing that is, for each new tool, I create a small project. And I think that that small like way of approaching a new tool has helped me to actually know which tools are like the best, because I try them and I can compare between different tools like really quickly. I mean, in 2020 was Webflow, Zapier, Airtable, and like a lot of tools to actually try to make something work. And now it's like Lovable and Bolt, and just pick one and go into one and create stuff.
Este podcast está patrocinado por Gong. Gong es una plataforma de inteligencia artificial optimizada para hispanohablantes y elegida por muchas compañías líderes. Si quieres aprender cómo cerrar más oportunidades, hacer proyecciones de ventas mucho más precisas y conseguir insights en tiempo real sobre tu mercado y tus competidores, vete a gong.io/demo para verlo en vivo.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Whenever I had multiple tools that I was playing with, I always went to you. I was like, okay, I know I can use Card or Webflow or Wix, or these are all like older generation type of, let's call it website builders, no? But today my mind almost explodes with everything that is out there. And every week it feels like we're just chasing after the new tool, no? So like having someone like you that's actually building stuff almost every day with these tools is pretty useful. Like, let's say, give us your top three, from a founder perspective. A founder, when they're going from 0 to 1, they have an ABC to cover, no? So like before, I know like when we were building out some products there, like Webflow was in your toolkit for sure. Zapier was in your toolkit for sure. I don't know, give us your top three before and after, like what founders should have in their mind to rapidly prototype.
Before it was Webflow, Airtable, Zapier. It was like the main stack because you can actually create like complex flow and complex logic and be behind the steps with Airtable. Like for example, Edify, which was a great company, was just that. A Webflow, people calling, and Airtable as a CRM, and Zapier to just pick all the tools up. But now that has changed, and I intended to say just Lovable, but maybe for some more like niche founders or some people that wants a more full stack approach, Lovable for the app or the first MVP, Framer for the marketing side, which will be a better design and a better experience, and it gives you more trust than what Lovable is capable at the moment. And then, of course, Airtable. I think Airtable should be in every founder's toolbelt because it is really amazing what we can actually make with Airtable, and you know it well. It's not just a database, it's your whole company inside one tool.
That's awesome, man. I've been playing around with different workflows. I thought in the beginning of this new wave, I was really into V0, which I think you were playing around with. And then I was also working on PRDs on Claude and on ChatGPT, and then using those to go on V0, and then using those to go on Bolt. I wonder, like, there's so many paths to actually building an MVP, But if you were to tell a founder today that just wants to get to validate or pre-validate demand, right? Like, okay, let's get something in front of people to see if there's actual demand here before I actually go out and invest into building a fully fledged product, right? Like, so for example, like, I've built this thing, even if it isn't fully built. Here's a PayPal link. I'm going to give this for 50% for the first 10 guys or girls who want to subscribe to my product. What do you do? Like, do you use different tools for your front, your PRD? Or like, what's a full stack for a mini MVP today?
I used to be like you in the sense that I tried so many tools and tried to like mix so many tools and try to find like the best tool for each use case. But with time and trying to teach this for a larger audience, I tend to just simplify. And maybe are tools that are better in some terms, in some specific parts of the process. But for 90% of the founders, Lovable is more than enough for just doing basically everything. Maybe except the PRDs, which I use ChatGPT, but only because I have ChatGPT paid and I don't want to pay Claude and ChatGPT. But Claude is actually better at this point, but maybe not next week. So in a changing environment like this, I think just use whatever you want. All the tools are going to evolve. And if one tool brings anything new, maybe in 2 weeks is already in your tool. So I think that being consistent and being really good with one tool is better than being switching all of the time. That being said, we were teaching Lovable at IE University, and Lovable just didn't work there. So we actually had to go to Bolt, and the results were equally amazing. So it really doesn't matter what you choose. I just choose Lovable because it works for me for clients, which is not something that I was able to say with Vault or with P0 or with Replit.
I'm going to plug in Alten.ai here because I want you to actually test them out. I've been spending some time with the founder. It's pretty impressive, like what you get to in 1 hour. Like one of the things that I learned working on one use case with you that we'll unveil soon is that you're the one who told me this, and it should be pretty evident if you're working on an MVP, but like just attack the core thing, the hardest bit first, instead of obviously like me just trying to make it pretty and like the experience awesome. Of course I would fall 100% into that bit, even though I've worked in product before, but it's just fun, you know, when you get lost into like, okay, I need to make this button beautiful because it can, instead of hey, focus on the core experience, because if you just spend 3 hours, and we would spend 3 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours on these prompts, right? Which is kind of crazy. That's one thing I learned working with you on that. And then the other thing I learned working with you on this is oftentimes it's almost like if I'd like to put Lovable and ChatGPT and then Claude, just talk to each other to refine the prompt before I actually give you the prompt. So like prompting the prompt and prompting it again is oftentimes awesome, right? I wonder if you do this, and also if you, and when do you ever go to cursor? Of course, you would go for like, in my understanding is you want to go deeper into the code and you want to do something more specific. Tell us a little bit, you know, when do you dip your toes into cursor, windsurf, or whatever you use?
As for the prompt in the prompt part, the first prompt is the most important. Like we've done several projects for clients. 85 to 90% of project is one prompt. Like literally just refining the first prompt until it's like exactly what you need in terms of style, in terms of functionality, in terms of like flow, and then like try to add the small things or the functionality which actually backend. But surprisingly enough, I've never had to go to windsurf in a real client project. There's this saying, and maybe they're right, that Lovable is for the first part and then you should jump into cursor or windsurf. In our clients, we didn't need it. Maybe they are not so big of a project, but they are like quite big. And Lovable is still working fine with the Lovable 2.0 actualization is really more than enough. But I think that maybe we could save some credits if we did the jump to windsurf earlier, especially not for frontend, like visual or like styles part, because I think Lovable does it well, but for like more core functionality, windsurf is still a little bit better, because Lovable you have to use like the chat mode, and that takes double tokens, and then you end up paying more.
No, that totally resonates. And one question that was popping in my mind also, well, another big thing that, or at least I see you doing a lot, is Zapier automations. Just for any workflow, any founder out there working on automations. And maybe, I don't know if we'll have time today to touch the tool, apart from the demo we're going to do, but I want you to at least tell us a little bit more about what you think of the evolution of Zapier 2.0. I know that Zapier is trying to build stuff on this as well, but also NHN, which is a tool that I just see everywhere. It feels and it seems amazing at automating different outstanding workflows. So tell us a little bit what you think about NHN. When do founders, should founders think about this tool, and for what?
Yeah, I don't think if you're not a technical guy that you should jump into NHN. I think Zapier has the best gateway to actually automating stuff in your business that there can be. That is just describe what you need, and there's this little assistant that will actually complete the information for you, create the steps, create the logic, and whatever. At this moment are very bad. So it will help you like with basic stuff, but at the moment that you need something more complex, like one real use case, for example, for revenue squared, it won't be enough, and you will still have those that need of actually learning the tool to actually be able to create some more complex stuff. But it's the best way to actually start automating, which I think is one of the important like unlocks for a founder, which is stop thinking in like, I have to do this manually, so start thinking, how can I do this with Zapier? That is a great change. Anything is an amazing tool, and I think they really unlock this agent building. But I'm going to be a little bit contrarian at the moment because I've never seen an agent working for a client. at the moment. We're trying to do stuff with agents, but it's not better than just calling an API and that's it. But I see the future. I see the potential that it has. So I think it's a really great tool, but I think it's more for technical people that have some technical background, and they maybe do computer science or they have someone in the team. That's why I think make.com is like the sweet spot between flexibility of Zapier, but also like the in-depth grade of actually building automations.
Can you give one use case example that would be useful for a founder, and not with N8N, but maybe Make, or also another one, Gomloop, which seems to be more approachable, but I'd love to get your take there as well.
Yeah, for example, we had this landing page for like agency, but we didn't like actually listen for the form entries. So last week I discovered that they have like 40 leads that I just completely ignored because I thought no one is going to enter. This is a simple landing page, is there. And actually I don't have the time to actually go into each lead to actually do like the introduction call and the discovery call. And I just went to go to like my highest priority. So I defined which is my like go-to target. And I have an agent that actually analyzed the content of the email, categorized the project between like high priority, medium priority and low priority. For the high priority, it will send you like directly into my Calendly. For the medium priority, it will send us a Slack message to the group so we can debate with a resume of actually what the project entails and the budget and how to do it. And for low priority, it will ask for more clarification and more info for the client, but it won't actually be in my inbox or whatever.
Este podcast está patrocinado por Ringover. Dirigir un equipo comercial puede ser un completo caos si no tienes las herramientas adecuadas. A todos nos gusta simplificar, y ahí es donde entra en juego Ringover. Para los que no lo conocéis, Ringover es un software de comunicación omnicanal con inteligencia artificial diseñado por y para equipos de ventas. Además de integrar todas las conversaciones en un único lugar, marca la diferencia con estadísticas en tiempo real para ver cómo va la actividad del equipo al momento, y con Speech Analytics e IA, que resumen cada llamada, automatizan la entrada de datos en el CRM y hasta ofrecen consejos para que los comerciales mejoren tras cada conversación. Si nunca lo has probado, te lo recomiendo. Puedes hacerlo gratis en ringover.es y en el link que te encontrarás en la descripción.
Fascinating that you can actually automate this already, like just as a use case for yourself, which is, I guess, how you're learning. Cool, man. So I think we got a good overview. Definitely, as a conclusion, founders should be playing around with these tools, or at the very least, to speed up processes and development. So let's walk through a little use case. No, I think we talk about one. I think it'd be super fun if you share your screen.
Of course. Let's try to build it live, because it's always better to try to build it live. Let me share my screen. Okay, so do you want to introduce like the use case, or I do? Okay, so the basic idea is that I have a lot of people that come to me with ideas of a startup. And one of the key advices that a friend of mine, Jacobo from Arengu, told me is to just apply to YC. Whatever startup you have, apply to YC, and you never know if you'll be entering. So what if we make a tool that assesses your probability to actually enter YC based on the recent people that applied? I think that could be a really great tool, and actually it could be like a side project with some monetization or a free tool to actually capture leads. So the process starts with actually thinking, okay, which is like the part that doesn't get the credit, but is the most important thing. And here we have three problems. The first one is to actually have all the information of the YC companies. The second one is to actually train an assistant to actually assess your probability. And the third one is to actually build the app. So we want to tackle that in that order. For the first one, you mentioned Gomloop, which is a really great tool. It's like Zapier, but more visual. If I define it as if Miro and Zapier had a baby, I think that it's exactly what Gomloop does. And it's AI automation visual. So you can create flows, and you have all of these nodes that they call them, which you can just use to integrate into your applications. But the key things is that you can ask AI, extract data. They have this really great web scrapper, and you can use some predefined or pre-created tools to actually get the results. In this case, I had the scenario already mounted because that's like the difficult part. It's a template. It's not magic. But basically, as you can see, we have this interface which will be running at the moment. While this is running, we have this part here that actually decides which batch you wanna like extract the data. And then we have this flow here, this subflow that actually goes to YC, to the YC page, uses the code that we use it, and tries to extract the data of the startups that it's actually seeing. It has some deduping for duplicates and actually writes to Google Sheets at the end with all of the information. Okay, so it's a pretty simple workflow, but there are like some key things that were very difficult to actually do 2 months ago. Like for example, this extracting part is not easy, or it wasn't easy if you didn't know actually how to code. So it will take some time, but in the end, you will get a Google Sheets like this, which all of the startups that are in their directory. In here we have the winter 25, but you can actually like go to whatever batch that you want because we have all of them. And as you can see, the interesting thing is that it did like the duplicate part really well because we have like thousands of startups here, which is not ideal, but it gave us automatically this like formatted with all the information. So now we have all of the information of the winter 25, like Y Combinator. So how do we use this for actually creating the assistant? So we have to go to platform.openai, and this is really confusing because I don't know you, but in my case, people that tell me, I am paying $20 a month for OpenAI, why cannot I use the API?
I know exactly what you were going to say. Yeah, I agree. Makes no sense.
So this is different, and you have to pay per tokens. So you actually have to put your credit card there. It normally is like cents, but yeah, I have spent like a lot of money.
Disclaimer here: be careful at setting the limits if you don't want to, have a bad surprise one day.
Yeah, for sure. And basically, in here we can go to the dashboard and go to the assistance part. The assistance is basically like custom GPTs, but in the backend. So it's the same thing that you see in the interface, but in here we will see it like more how it's built. So in this case is... Yeah.
And a parenthesis there, Alex, is I know for a lot of people this will feel overwhelming, even just the interface, right? But it really isn't. Right. This is, at least in my experience, this is 10 times easier, more visual than the previous version. And if anything, everything's going into lesser UX, more prompting, even to get to this point. And this is basically a custom GPT, right? This is like a backend custom GPT that you're programming, you're training here, right?
And the training part is the really interesting because we can give them like the system instructions, which is like the basic output. In this case, for example, you're an agent, you have to tell me the probabilities to enter Y Combinator. And the key thing is that we are defining here the criteria, which I totally invented. You should definitely like take more time to actually figure out which are like the key parts. Maybe you can say your insights and how we want the result. Okay, which in this case is like the startups that are similar, the description, the percent rate of entering Y Combinator, and a reason to showcase that. But the key thing is how do we actually input the information of all of the startups that we scraped? Because if you go to files and try to upload the CSV that we actually downloaded from Excel, it won't let you, okay? It only accepts like PDFs or images. And that's a problem because we needed to actually go into the CSV. So a little trick is to actually turn on the code interpreter, and there you can actually upload CSVs. So now our assistant has all of the information about our CSV of all the companies that were on Y Combinator.
And so, Alex, just so people understand, what you're doing here is, imagine you had a baby and you're training the baby on something and you're just putting what are the instructions to get up, stand up on 2 feet and walk. So instead of that, you're just telling it, here are the instructions. In this case, you would actually go and look at the YC website and their call for startups, embed that into the system instructions, add the export that you just provided with Gumloop and whatever other instance you have, right? And then you just set and go.
Exactly. And the baby example is really great because you really have to be like that descriptive of everything that has to be. Like the more description that you add, the better results that you're going to actually get. Okay, so if we tackle like the first two problems, let's go to the third one, which is to actually create the app itself. And for that, I use this really cool tool, which is called Lovable Prompts app, which is sponsored by me.
This is a friend of yours, right? Let's give him a shout out.
Yeah, it's David from Velada. Really amazing maker, really amazing product, and really amazing tool. Yeah, so basically you have to describe your idea in like simple terms, not so simple. The more detail that you actually get, the better. So in this case, for example, I want to have a tool. We should actually like refine this a little bit more, but for like example, it will be more than enough. And we'll just click on generate prompt. And this is like the same thing that we are doing, but with Lovable specific like information on how to actually format the prompts. So for me, this gives better results than what you said before, that going to ChatGPT and going back here and then going to Lovable. I just go here. So it will take some time, but I have it already here. But it gave us this very long prompt, very structured, with all of the information like the technology that you use, the features, the core features, the secondary features, the implementation guidance, all of the information that Lovable actually needs. So now we should go into Lovable and just paste this prompt. You can actually like input some reference image that they send you into WhatsApp for Lovable. And let's see, because Lovable is somewhat unstable today, and maybe it will work, maybe not. Cross our fingers and try to see if Lovable will actually work today.
There's a great sponsorship opportunity for Lovable here on their spinning up review. Just like there was in the Zoom call interstitial, just to charge advertising space here. Because that, or either build a little snake-like game, you know, that you can actually play while you wait for your prompt.
Yeah, because I spend so much time here.
But what happens to you is you probably multitask, right? Which is sometimes...
Yeah, preparing this podcast, I was actually cooking. So it was like putting the gnocchi in the water and then come here and like adding another prompt and then going back to the gnocchis. I wouldn't recommend it because, you know, cooking and developing is not the best option.
That's good. You're cooking code and cooking food. I like it. Makes total sense.
Yeah. The thing with these long prompts, it will take a lot of time for the first version. Normally, if you have like this simple prompt, it will be like 1 minute max. This can be up to 5 minutes to actually deliver the first version, but it definitely is worth it. Like the output is like way better.
That on one hand, I've had to go back multiple times to the first prompt, like after just doing a bunch of noodle code. And going back, but can we just admire for a second, for people who haven't seen this? This is unbelievable. Like the fact that it's generating. You know, you've used. Oh, here we go, and now it's here. So, all right, keep going. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, it is amazing. And now we can just describe the idea with whatever, the team site, the founder experience, the number of users, the monthly revenue. We did start the company before. It is AI related. We have the MVP built. And we need this thing, which maybe will let us just skip it. Yeah, it is fake data. It is better than what people like built like a year ago. Like the UI is clean, the output is nice. I mean, this is more than enough. This is amazing.
Yeah, and it's not just a toy, right? Like you can connect your domain to this and publish it in exactly 15 seconds. You can plug it into a real baby that you've trained your assistant on the OpenAI developer platform, and it will actually be thinking for you. You can use it to iterate on your, maybe this is not the best way to start a company, but you can use it to iterate on how you would pitch your company to an accelerator or a VC. It's just amazing how fast and how, you know, structured you can make this happen, right? So awesome, man. I think we'll cut it here. It's 30 minutes on the dot. This was epic. Let's do it again. You're the best. Everybody where can people find you? I already called out your YouTube channel for Spanish speakers, but I think you should also do this in English because you are a really good teacher and you have a really good eye on this tool. So where can people find you?
Yeah, it's difficult to spell, but I'm on Twitter. It's called Vaughtton. I think it will be in the description. If not, you can see me at No Code Hackers on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, or web, nocodehackers.es.
Awesome. And you're doing a little batch right now, no? Like a little course specifically. Tell us a little bit about that before we go.
Yeah, we basically try to teach people how we use this into like real client scenario. So we have this course which we called Prototyping with AI for Product People. We have already 30 students. We're running the second cohort here in the summer of 25. The results of the students are like crazy, like mind-blowing what you can make with people that had no prior experience in actually building anything. It's another generation. And for me, it's like no code, but like the real no code.
100%. Thank you so much, man. Let's do this
Thank you.
again, yeah? Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.